All right, welcome
Shalom.
everybody. I am Kurt Roskoff, and you are watching and listening to Revolutionize Your Marketing by Mill City Marketing MA. We have John Petro Sr. here. And again, I'm Kurt Roskoff from the World of Ability Podcast Network, and we are excited to bring you today's guest. And so we're going to bring John on here to get the show a rolling. So, John, come on in here. Tell us about the guests you have today and everything else about the show. This is your Revolutionize Your Marketing show. Have fun.
Hello, folks, and welcome to another great episode of Revolutionize Your Marketing. I guess tonight is kind of out of the usual, shall we say. She's 14 years old, and this girl knows what she wants to do in life and does some special things with her spare time that she has. And she loves reading books. So this will be a very interesting conversation. Let's bring in Grace Motard. Hey,
Hi.
Oh,
Grace. How you
Hello.
doing
oh,
tonight?
I'm good.
Let's start off letting people know how how old you are and what you do.
I'm Grace Motard, and I am a currently a student at Richardson Middle School. And I have loved reading since I was very little, and I have known since I was 5 what I want to be, what I want to do for work, and I've been working at it since.
And what might that be?
I want to work in hospice. I want to be
wow.
a hospice nurse for elderly and children.
Wow.
And what are you doing right now to get you there?
So right now, I'm looking into what that would entail and what steps I need to take education-wise to get there. So for high school, I'm going to Innovation Academy. And then for college, I want to go to nursing school to get my CNA and then work up to my RN and then hopefully go to hospice from there.
Sounds like you got your whole life planned. Um, you said you're in school. What grade?
I'm in 8th grade right now.
Eighth grade. And what do your teachers think about what your plans are?
Every single teacher that I've told what I want to do, they all tell me that it's a hard job, that it takes a lot, that it takes a specific type of person to do it, which is pretty much what I hear from everybody that I say it to. And I know that it's a hard job, and I know that I know what it means to do this, but I also know that by doing this, I'm impacting somebody else's life in ways that I may never understand.
That's true. Now, I also know that you read quite a few books.
I love reading. It's probably my favorite thing to do.
And what kind of books do you like reading?
I'm a romance person. I love romance books. And I love horror novels or like true crime novels, stuff like that.
Interesting stuff. Um, so how are you preparing yourself for the medical field?
What? Sorry, I missed that.
How are you preparing yourself for the medical field?
I'm preparing myself by looking into what each thing has to, like, what each part of it means and how I will help in different ways. And with the age groups that I want to work with, what I need to study to get there.
Okay. And what is that you are realizing that you need to study?
So for hospice, it's a towards like the end of your life care, where what I'll do is it's like a doctor at your house. So when you're passing away and you're at the end of your life, and you want to die in your home, you have a nurse from hospice that comes and takes care of you, and you're like leading up to the end. And so for that, I would need to do med school and get like a nursing degree, and like fully, once at that point, think about exactly what I want to do in hospice.
Now, I remember a couple weeks ago, there was a very intense conversation that
Yes.
you had. The topic that was getting me is what you were talking about, how people think.
Yes. So I'm a huge health nerd. I love everything to do with health and like psychology and mental health and stuff like that. I love learning about all that kind of stuff. And aside from hospice, obviously, like, I've looked into different things in the health world, if you want to call it that. Um, and I've looked into the way that like your brain works, the way that you think, what happens, what causes different things to happen, brain chemistries, the chemical makeups of our brain in general. I haven't gone very deep into that, but I've started like kind of looking at what all of that entails.
It's a very intense topic. Trying to learn how the brain works and everything attached to it. I know people that have spent years working on picking up knowledge on how the brain and everything works. Um, but coming from a 14-year-old, that's really amazing. Um, that you know what you need to do, you know what you want to get. Um, Normally, 14-year-old is not even thinking of that stuff yet.
Yes, I've wanted to do hospice since I was 5. My great grandfather was on hospice, and I think I will remember that lady for the rest of my life. She's what inspired me. She would let us come and help and show us different things that she had to do to help him. She would like let us help him with his breathing stuff and all that kind of different, like all like the different things that she had to do for her job. She would let us help. And I remember I was 5 and I looked at my mom and I was like, I want to be like her when I grow up. And I've stuck with that since.
So you were inspired at the age of 5. That's that's really amazing. Um, and that you and that the fact that you're sticking with it too is amazing. I don't know of any other 14-year-olds like you. You're definitely a rare breed, shall we say.
Yeah, that's what my mom says.
And um, the other thing is your sister is totally the other way. She's about enjoying life
Yes,
at
yes.
a young age. Um, so it's your inspiration was that nurse when you were 5. What other inspirations along the way have you had stick to it?
So besides her, more recently, like as I've been looking into different hospice things, I've been like going online, different like social media platforms, searching for like different hospice nurses that post what their day to day is. And I've seen all of these videos of these nurses posting what their day to day is like, what they do, how they do it, how that impacts them. And it's genuinely just so interesting how much like this job that I want to pursue impacts people's lives and will
Mm-hmm.
impact my own.
Yeah, I think Mark has a question. We're going to let Mark pop in here with the question.
Okay.
You're on mute, Mark.
I don't want to cut into your conversation here, John, but
That's okay.
now, okay, so I have a little experience with this. I've been married to my wife for 20 years. My wife's a nurse. She's an RN. My wife's on a different level. My wife's an RN, certified RN, bone marrow transplant, PQ, NICU, ECMO, CRT, and stroke. She works at 2 hospitals, 6 days a week at PCH, Phoenix Children's Hospital, and Banner Hospital. Um, she spends, I don't know, about 80 hours a week being a nurse. She's the highest paid nurse in Arizona. She's been a CCO of hospitals. She's been a nurse manager. She's at the highest level a nurse can be. All right. And she only got a 2-year degree 30 years ago in Indonesia. Okay. So the first thing, Grace, that you need to do is, first of all, hospice is a difficult situation. Number one, you better be able to stomach people dying in front of you. And you're going to get emotionally connected to these people because you're going to be seeing people that are grandmas, grandpas, uncles, aunts, brothers, and cousins who have family coming to see them. And when their family comes to see them, they're crying. And you're going to have to be able to stomach death. And I'm telling you right now, it's not easy. My wife works at a children's hospital. It took 15 years for her to find out where the morgue was because patients didn't die. But when they died, when she started working in long-term care at Kindred Hospital here in Phoenix, she was coming home crying because she got emotionally attached to people because these are 90-day or more patients that she got emotionally attached to. And it's very easy to get emotionally attached to these hospice patients. And this thing about CNA, I don't know who's telling you that, but why bother? A CNA is a certified nursing assistant who basically is a phlebotomist who draws blood. So to be a CNA is something you should skip. All right, that's for someone who can't qualify for nursing school. But my first suggestion to you, more than anything else, you're a 14-year-old kid, and I love your intestinal fortitude and your heart to want to do this. But before you do anything, just like anybody else, get an internship, go to a hospice, all right, and go, listen, can I volunteer here? Go to a hospice in your neighborhood, go walk into a hospice, try to pick a bigger one that has more opportunities and say, can I volunteer here? And spend time in that hospice and understand what you're about to do because you're going into a field that generally is not highly qualified RNs. What happens is a nurse at my wife's level, what she does is she goes into these hospices as a registered nurse. Okay. And it's called they have this called Nightingale services here in Arizona. So my wife goes in and opens the case. She did this about 20 years ago. She goes in, opens the case, and then not CNAs, all right, not with college degrees, come in and take care of the patients. They're not certified RNs. Certified RNs go in to open the case. All right, because a CNA can't open the case. An RN, a CNA cannot administer drugs. All right, nurses can. So you have to be a certified RN to be able to administer drugs to people. So CNAs can go in and take care of people, or they're just called caregivers. So not 90% of the times the hospice is run by an RN, but there's not necessarily RNs working directly in these hospices unless they're huge hospices that can afford to hire full-time RNs. But 90% of the times they can't afford that. So what I'm saying, unless you're seeing nurses that own these hospice cares, because I know a lot of nurses that open up their own long-term care service. Okay. So just like they open up like therapy, like the IV stuff. So before you do anything, and I'm not trying to scare you away, but before you do anything in any medical field whatsoever, get yourself an internship, walk into a hospice, say, I love this idea. I have these dreams. Can I volunteer here? Okay. And experience it, not by YouTube, not by Google, experience it firsthand in the room with the patients. Okay. I have a lot of experience in this, a lot. I've been married to a nurse for 20 years. She's been doing it for 30, and she's extremely highly qualified, like beyond anything you can imagine. Okay, so my wife's a very special person. All right. She doesn't go to work to drink. She doesn't go to work to smoke. She doesn't go to work to hang out. She goes in, she does 12, 14, 15, 16-hour days before she comes home. So it's not an easy position in any nursing field. Is very, very difficult. It takes a very special, and there's a lot of RNs out there that are not special people. They just go, they go like this. Oh, it's a good paying job. They pay $40 an hour. I'm going to go nursing school. And then they get there and they go, oops, not for me. So go do an internship. When you're out, when school's over, go do a little internship, go do a little volunteer thing at a hospice. I don't know if you did that already, but if you did, God bless. If you did it, please do it. That's it.
A little bit of advice from someone that has somewhat experience with his wife.
And I've come to terms with the fact that these people are dying. These people, like, I'm gonna get attached. And I've come to terms with that. And the way that I see it is it gives me more of a reason to want to do it. It gives me more of a reason because then you're building these bonds with people and you're caring and you're helping somebody that you care about. You're helping somebody that trusts you. You're helping this person that you may only be in their lives for a little bit, but you'll remember them forever, and that can cause such a big impact. And I know from what my mom has talked about that the hospice nurse we had for my grandfather, she impacted our lives forever. It's been years and we still remember her. And I know
I
that
get it.
by getting this connection with, even if I do get attached, I know that what I'm doing is helping not only that person, but that person's family. And I will permanently impact what happens after.
Okay. I can't say how much I love your heart, but okay. But think about this. If you took that same energy and that same care and that same concern, and you went to a hospital and you went to a long-term place that takes care of people younger, that have the opportunity to have a longer life, that are still living, okay, that you can impact their lives like that. Okay, I understand you lost your grandfather. It was a very emotional time, and you got close to the nurse. It's a very emotional time. I completely understand that. And it probably made you cry more than you've ever cried before. All right. But to do it every day, all right? And I'm not trying to tell you not to do it. But being in a room with your grandfather and a nurse is different than seeing it every single day. Nurses work 12-hour shifts, 3 days a week. My wife works 12-hour shifts, 6 days a week. And I've seen it emotionally destroy her. She comes home yelling and screaming at me, but it's not because it's me. It's because she can't yell and scream at the bosses or the nurses or the surgeons, because it's frustration. It's stress. Okay. So I listen to it and I get yelled at all the time. And I understand why. All right. Because she's many times and she won't even apologize because she doesn't even realize she's doing it. It's either yell at me or yell into a pillow or climb a wall or smack a wall. So it's okay to be yelling at me. I can deal with it. But just spend the summer, spend a couple of weeks in a hospice home every day. All right. And it's not just hospice. Spend some time at a Alzheimer's home. Spend some time at a what you call it, where the long term, if you go near the hospitals, they always have these long term kids, these kids that are like stuck in like not wheelchairs, but like that have Down syndrome, or they have. Imagine helping a kid with Down syndrome, or helping a kid that has Tourette's, or helping a kid that does that.
I work with kids with special needs in a school program, Best Buddies. We help kids with special needs every day, and we have sports that are a mix of kids with special needs and kids that don't have special needs, and we let them play these sports that they've never had the opportunity to play before, that they don't get the chance to every day. And I work with them every single day. I've created bonds with these kids. I have kids that see me that are graduated from the middle school Best Buddies program that see me every day out in Drake and come running to see me. There's one kid in specific that every single time he sees me, it's Grace is there, Grace is there. And he comes running over to say hi to me.
Yes. Yes. And that's a better trail for you. That's a better path. It's not that don't get me wrong. You could help these elderly people that are on their last, hurrah, their last moments, all right, in the world. And a lot of them are alone because their families don't follow them or care about them. And yes, they need that support. I agree with you 1000%. But the impact you can make on younger people that is longer lasting, and it's deeper. It's like you're going to make a slight impact on these elderly people. You will, and you'll make a tremendous impact on them for a short period of time. And it's great. But the impact, the long-term impact you can make with your heart, the long-term impact you can make on people your age or old, a little bit older than you, or especially younger than you, babies that are born with defects and problems. And I mean, you can't even imagine what happens at a children's hospital. If I want to cry, I just go visit my wife. They don't even let people upstairs anymore because there's too much emotion. Or I used to be able to walk around the hospital, although COVID stopped that mostly, but I used to be able to walk around the hospital freelance all over the place, all over Phoenix Children's Hospital, 6 floors, all over the place. And now I can't even get somebody to volunteer to bring her lunch that she forgot. Okay. So the tightness in these facilities, the damage, and then of course you have people that are frauding these seniors and hurting these seniors, and that's another thing that you're going to have to deal with, because it's not just emotional, it's not only their health, but people are trying to fraud them and cheat them and steal from them and swindle them, and it's a difficult thing to deal with. And I'm not talking you out of it, but imagine the impact you can make on someone your age or younger that still have their lives ahead of them, but they're dealing with stress and drama of not being able to run and play with the rest of their friends. That's a difficult path to follow. And with your heart and soul, you can make such an impact on those people.
I've looked into it. Hospice isn't just for elderly. It actually works with all age groups. There's children in hospice,
Yes.
there's teenagers in hospice, there's young adults in hospice.
Yes.
I don't wanna just work with elderly. I want to work with kids in hospice because I work with kids every day and I want to help them. But hospice has been something I've wanted to do since I was 5. I've thought
God
about
bless.
this entire life. This is what
So
I
if you're doing it already, then you should already be, trying to function, trying to pick what nursing school have you looked into? What nursing school are you thinking about? Which nursing schools have you looked into?
I've started to look at different ones in Vermont and different ones because that's where I want to live. That's where I want to work out of, is Vermont. So I'm looking at different nursing schools up in Vermont, getting the feel for what each one offers.
I used to go to Montpelier in Vermont and go down the Alpine Slide about 40 years ago in Great Gorge. And I used to go to Vermont, Bromley Mountain with my sister, and she used to go skiing. I used to go down the Alpine Slide because I was about 12 and she was 23. And so when she went skiing up in Bromley Mountain, I used to do the Alpine Slide and used to take my sleigh and toboggans down the mountains because I didn't want to ski, and I still don't want to ski. So Vermont's a beautiful place. Hey, Ben and Jerry's ice cream, God bless. Ben and Jerry's ice cream, good spot. So yes, all right, and the beautiful green state. It's a great forest, great woods, great everything. Vermont's a great state. It is. It's a pretty state. God, it's a pretty state. Yeah, that's a pretty place. So yeah, and where do you live now?
Right now, I'm currently living in Drake, Mass.
Massachusetts?
Yes.
Okay. My Knicks kicked your butt. Sorry, you probably don't even pay attention to the Celtics. You probably don't even pay attention to sports that way. But what other curricular activities do you do other than, Nurse Grace? You got the right name for
I'm a
it.
cheerleader, and
Wow.
I pretty much spend most of my time either cheering or at the library.
When do you sleep?
Not very often.
I can see that. Okay. I mean, no one's going to doubt your intestinal. Your mother must be extremely proud, and your family must be extremely proud of what you're doing. They're probably confused by it, the amount of energy you have as a young person. But John, with all the internet, with all the information these kids have today, don't be surprised by a 14. The good news is she's not on TikTok doing cat videos, okay, or doing something like cinnamon, eating a mouthful of cinnamon or jumping from a roof. I mean,
Yeah.
do you create TikTok videos of the things you do and Instagram?
All my social media accounts are private,
Okay,
so
that's a good
just like
idea. So you don't
friends
share
and
what you do.
family.
Okay, I'm not asking to be on your TikTok or Instagram. Believe me, no,
Oh no,
that's not what I'm asking.
that would be
No,
so.
believe me, I'm an old guy. No, I have no desire to do that. So
No, that wasn't what
I
I
was just
was saying.
no, I know, I'm just kidding with you, but I'm just saying social media because most of the young people your age are creating TikToks and Instagram to increase their notoriety, to increase, colleges and what college you. So you're not going to. So you're thinking about you're going to go directly from high school to nursing school.
Yes,
Okay.
that is the plan.
And is there good nursing schools in Vermont?
I believe so. My stepmom and I have been looking through a bunch.
Yeah, there's some Arizona, and I'm not telling you to move away from home, but we have Western University, and then we have starts with a C. There's some tremendous inexpensive nursing schools here in Arizona, and the cost of living is much lower. And there are some tremendous. We have the most community colleges, and we have some of the most. When we have more universities than anywhere else, because to build the schools building here is and then of course one of the best schools for nursing too is University of Arizona, where my two kids went. So University of Arizona has an outstanding medical program. And don't kid yourself. Why would you with your intelligence? Why not doctor?
That's not what doctor is more about the science of the body, and it's more about looking into what each part does. And I've never been interested in that. I've never had the desire to focus solely on diagnosis and the science behind it all. I love health and I love everything to do with it, but I don't want to go doctor route. I don't want to be your atypical doctor that's what everyone goes for. Hospice is what I'm going for. That's what I've always wanted, and it's what I'm going to continue to pursue.
Phenomenal. There's a hospital out here called St. Joe's under Dignity Hospital now. Right next door to St. Joe's Hospital is this amazing place that is part of the Muhammad Ali Foundation, and it is a all ages hospice that my wife and myself go to, and we know people, of course, that that work there and stuff like that, and it's very impactful, and it's part of the Muhammad Ali Foundation. And Muhammad Ali he passed away here in Arizona. I was at the hospital the day he passed away, and I was there, and I went to his funeral. I went to go to his funeral because his funeral was in Atlanta, but I was at the hospital that day when he passed away, in the actual building. Yes. So yeah, and he has a big impact here in Arizona. His name is volunteered. His name is on numerous buildings here in the medical field. He donated a lot of stuff to the medical field. So yes, he loved it here in Arizona. So yes, God bless. I mean, the amazing grace. I mean, your mother named you perfectly. You're the amazing grace. You seriously, God bless. And I'm sure you're a 5.0 GPA, smartest kid in the school, Grace too, right?
I try.
Are you a valedictorian of your grade?
We don't have that for 8th grade.
Oh, that's true. And where are you going to high school?
Innovation Academy.
Innovation Academy. Yeah, there's no more. I went to a number 3 school, and Belleville High School. They didn't have charter schools when I was growing up, right? Right, John? Now they have all these charter schools. Now you have all these private charter schools, and they're all. But the only problem with charter schools are they were doing extremely well because if they're government fund, if the good news about not going to a public school is they're losing their funding. The charter schools won't lose their funding because most of the times they're privately funded by corporations or individuals. So the charter schools have a better chance of staying open. The public schools are going to struggle. if Elon doesn't open up that faucet.
Yeah.
You could be eventual U.S. Surgeon General. I was with this past weekend. I was with the top medical guy in the world. His name is Dr. Bob Goldman. He's been the medical advisor for the last 5 presidents. Yes.
Grace, let me ask you a question.
Yes.
You said that there was a group you're part of. You're not necessarily a speaker. Talk a little bit about that group and what they do.
Best Buddies.
Yeah, that's
So Best Buddies, I could talk about Best Buddies all day. Best Buddies is a group where we help kids with special needs, ranging from cerebral palsy to Down syndrome, autism, stuff like that. And we do all kinds of different stuff, from field trips to like different parties and stuff. Like, I think at the end of this month, we're doing a Best Buddies prom where we're having all of the peers, so peers are kids that don't have special needs, buddies are kids that do. So all the peers and all the buddies are getting together for a really big dance so we can all just hang out and have a good time. So our goal is to include everybody. Our goal is inclusivity. We're trying to get these kids that have never had some of these opportunities to be able to have these opportunities, from sports to different community activities. And I believe we are a unified school. We have unified bocce, we have unified track, unified basketball, and I believe there's one more, but that's all that I can think of right now. And it's amazing. These kids are genuinely some of the smartest kids I've ever met in my entire life. And they have impacted me more than I think I've always viewed it as they've impacted me more than I've impacted them. But I never realized how truly big of an impact it made until I had that kid run up to me and say hi to me and be so overjoyed to see me. And it is genuinely one of the most amazing programs. So we're all about inclusivity. So we have different opportunities for them to be included in things that they may not be able to be included in normally, and that they should be included in, because nothing makes me more upset than to see a kid being left out because they have special needs, or a kid being left out because they're different. And I've been, even before middle school, because in elementary we didn't have a Best Buddies program, but even in elementary school, I was volunteering to have kids, like this one little girl who had, I believe, autism or Down syndrome. I forget, I apologize. It's been a really long time since I've seen her. She would come up to my classroom when I was in like the 3rd grade and read with me. And she would get so excited to come see me every day. And I was so overjoyed that I could make even just one person so happy just by sitting and reading a book. And this program has impacted my life so much. It's opened my eyes to so many things that I would have never known about, so many things that I would have never guessed were happening. And so we have, I believe it's called leadership. We don't really refer to it as that, where it's president, vice president, and secretary. And it's typically 3 8th graders. And we have I believe it's called a buddy director, who is a kid with special needs that's also in like the group, or like the leadership, whatever you want to call it. And so I'm vice president. I've been in Best Buddies since 6th grade, and I keep coming back. I love it. That's definitely one of the things that I'm gonna miss about going to school with these kids is Best Buddies. I think that's the only thing I'm gonna miss is Best Buddies. It's genuinely just so amazing.
Maybe you might want to mention to them about having, when you leave the eighth grade, those that want to still in some way help out the group.
Huh? I'm sorry, it cut out a little bit
Oh,
on my end.
when you graduate from the eighth grade, maybe they should set something up where once you graduate, you can still come back and help them.
So once I graduate, I'll still be able to see all these kids in public and stuff. And like one of the kids that I worked with last year, he's a high schooler now, and I still see him all the time, and I still talk to him all the time. And I see him in Drake it, like we had a safety night thing, and I saw him there, and him and I were talking, and he loves like the military and social studies stuff. So he just told me everything and anything that he knew about it, and I just sat and listened. And it's stuff that I didn't even know about, stuff that I didn't even know existed. And I have family in the military, and I was so like astonished by what he was telling me. And
Yeah.
I look up to that. That's like they are so intelligent and genuinely some of the smartest people I've ever met in my entire life.
Yeah. But yeah, what I'm saying though is if you like working with them, maybe set something up where after you leave, after you graduate, something up, set something up like when you can come back and work with them still.
I
Maybe not
don't
as
believe
often.
because it's a school club. I don't want to say club, that feels wrong. Because it's a school organization, I don't believe that I would be able to because I would no longer be going to Drake at schools.
Yeah. Um, maybe something in the form of like an advisor.
Hmm?
Maybe something in the form of like an advisor.
What do you mean?
We where you come back and advise them into how they're doing things, and especially with the future that you have planned.
Yeah. So again,
Um,
because it's a school
yeah,
organization, I don't believe that I would be allowed to come back. I can definitely like still see them all and still talk to them all,
yeah,
but I don't believe that I could go back and like advise because I'm only going to be 15.
yeah, that's true too. But it was an idea. It was a
Yeah.
thought.
If I could, then I 100% would, no doubt about it.
Yeah. Um, getting close to the 5 o'clock hour here. Kurt, I know you have some questions for this young lady. Kurt, are you hiding on
Yep.
us?
Here we go. So Grace, one of my
Matt,
questions is how many of these type of things have you done, like podcasts and public speaking? It's like you've done a lot of this.
So
Is that right?
I this is my first time being on a podcast, but I have done public speaking before. We did a speech competition last year for our essays.
Okay, well, very
I
good.
love talking about my opinions and stuff. It's something I've always liked to do.
Oh, very good. Um, my observation is you have a lot of resolve and kind of in professional spaces, they talk about authenticity and being genuine and stuff like that. And it's just always good to have enthusiasm, like you have for Best Buddies and, your pursuit for hospice and to have this definiteness of purpose. I mean, books are written about it and, you know, you just really are in a place where when I was your age, I had a lot of great things going on. When I was your age, I was on the verge of joining a water ski club. I didn't yet. My brother joined it when I was your age. My brother joined a water ski show club. So you just got me thinking about when I was your age, type of thing. And my family and I were running a golf course. So, I had a lot of stuff where I was in a lot of particular situations and able to excel in many ways. But, and what I observe with you, Grace, there's things that I'm accomplishing now at this point in my life that I'm like, why didn't I have that back when I was your age? And I sense you have that, and I can only guess it comes from a very supportive family. Do you have a lot of
Yes,
relation? Do you have a lot of relatives?
I do. I do. I have a lot.
Yeah, I figured because I can. So you strike me as somebody who benefits from a big and tight and like you value a big family, like
My
extended.
family is one of the most important things, if not the most important thing to me.
That is great. And so on the hospice part, I can only imagine that part of your passion with it all is first and foremost for that individual, but then right along with that, if you're in the middle of hospice, I'm guessing it's a part of the family and the loved ones, people who come in to visit
Yes,
somebody during hospice, that
a
you want to
hundred
be in that
percent,
place to help all that.
definitely. That's one of the main things that like I thought like when I was really sitting there like is this is 100% what I want to do. Obviously, my number one is the patient, making sure that their final days are everything that they could ever need it to be and more, and that they go comfortably, that they're in a good place, they're not hurting. And then their family, making sure that they know that I care too, that I'm not there just because it's my job. I'm there because I genuinely want to help.
Now, what do you know about the career of those doing hospice today? In some careers, there's a brevity because of how challenging it is. Do you see that?
Oh,
I know nothing about it. Is there a brevity to hospice careers?
I've never, I just, I don't know what that word means. I'm sorry.
Oh, brief. It's a brief career because, when you're dealing with something that has such an emotional weight and, you carry that, it's almost like you're in the middle of a traumatic situation where, in hospice, it's quite a process for families to go through, and the person going through hospice takes an emotional toll, and you tend to build up baggage. And I come from this, like I served 10 years as an EMT, and I could do more and whatever, but there's careers like this where for some people, there's statistics where people do it for a couple decades or something, and then it comes time to get out because it just becomes too much for a human being to bottle all that up and to keep doing it. Does that, have you looked into any of that with hospice care?
So I haven't like fully looked into it, but I've come to terms with the fact that like it's a hard job. It's gonna be sad. Some days are gonna be harder than others. I'm gonna make these attachments to these people. But at the end of the day, I've also learned how to cope with it. And I've learned to just, it's okay. And I know that sounds really, I don't know if that sounded bad because like these are people, but like I've learned what I'm gonna do and how, like, what that means for me and how that's going to affect me. And I'm okay with that. I've already come to terms with the fact that it's gonna be a lot.
Now, have you put any thought into, as much as you're willing to do that, have you thought of modes that are going to help you keep up that capacity? I mean, what I'm talking about is just like living good to make sure your health is always good, have a lot of diversions, distractions, hobbies, and stuff. I'm trying to think, did you mention? I'm thinking you mentioned some hobbies. Did you talk
I
about?
have a ton of hobbies. I'm a huge reader. I love drawing. I
uh,
cheer. I'm huge with nature. I love everything. Like I go out for walks all the time when it's nice outside. I love nature, books,
Did you
cheer,
figure it out?
like everything.
I,
Yeah.
I got it before.
And then, I think it's also helpful. I don't know if you looked into it, like as an EMT, we'd go out and we'd take care of other people's problems. They call 911 because they don't know how to deal with the problem that they're in the middle of. And then we'd come and I'd say, hey, hello, I'm Kurt. I'm your EMT. What seems to be the problem? And then we documented its chief complaint and we go through the thing. You never know what trauma it could be a mass casualty incident. You don't know what you're going to come in the middle of. It's like, wow. And, we'd be trained to say, just remember, it's their problem, not yours, and that was just more to help you keep focus that, your role is to, bring remedy to the problem, not get caught up in it, type
Yeah.
of, that's what we were trained to do. But, we would do a debriefing because you go back home and there was value in debriefing because that kind of offlifted some of the stuff that came at you and the human connection there. You debrief it so that with your colleagues, you can kind of huddle up and get some resolve about it. So you can, like you said, take a deep breath and then move on, put it behind you as much as you can. Um, so I don't know how much you've looked into the granular details. Have you looked into it to this kind of detail to really,
Yeah. So I've started to look in because I'm getting to the point where like I can start to finally pursue this and start to put in like the actual steps. I'm at the age where like this is becoming close to where I'll be 18 in 4 years. So I'm getting to that point where like I'm starting to look into this and I'm already in therapy. So my way of debriefing things. And I know from seeing it firsthand, seeing what they do firsthand, it's like they just put on like a different personality for that one job. And then it doesn't like, I don't know how to explain it. It's in my head, but I can't like put it into words.
yeah, well that's good. I think that's the exciting part of it. It's a journey you're going through. There's an expression in life of, don't let the past or the future rob you of the present. And something I learned, I put to practice, I guess, or maybe caught on to because I didn't really hear that adage in my youth. So it's something I more appreciate today than thinking back to when I was a student or when I was in high school or anything, or even in college for that matter, because you're always thinking of, you're doing all this to get that job to go into hospice and do that. And I never thought about it during that time to say, did I do so much of that that I didn't appreciate the time with my friends and my family and my faith journey and the hobbies and all the things. I did a lot of it, but did I really seize the moment? Did I really keep myself present there without too much ulterior motive, like how is this going to help me for the next thing? And I think as youth, I'm guessing you probably experienced that. Could you say it's almost to the point of a little bit of pressure? Like all of us out here, all of us adults asking you these questions, like, have you thought about this thing that you're going to do 10 years from now? Stuff like that. Does it
So
feel a little much to you ever to think of the
it
future?
can be because like I talk to a lot of people about it that don't understand what it is
Yeah.
and don't know what hospice really is. And at that point then it can be like a little much or like when people are like that's crazy, like why would you do that? Why would you do that to yourself?
Yeah. Well, I really love where you're going with it, that you find a way that it's not doing it to yourself. You're taking it on as it's part of your journey and it's something you're excited to move forward on. You seem so prepared, at a young age to do it. I give you a lot of credit for that. I don't claim to understand your journey. I never would have dreamed in my life to go, and even today to think of me being in what you're going in there willing to do. I give you a lot of credit to that. And, for me, I would encourage you, like I was talking about, that I really wish the best for you on today is May 9th, 2025. Mother's Day is just a couple days away. Today is, something that needs to be finished to 100% of what today brings. Appreciate you here on the podcast.
Yes, I've
And
been so excited.
yeah, yeah. And John has been very excited. He's been talking to me about this for weeks. So it really stuck out to him, Grace. And your reputation preceded you. So congratulations.
Thank you.
So, John, I'll take it back to you. I think we're kind of at the wrap up portion here. How do you want to wrap this up, John?
Yeah. Well, thank you for coming, Grace.
Of course, I've been looking forward to this for weeks.
It's been a pleasure having you on. Yeah, those people that watch this, even on the replay on YouTube, I'm sure will be inspired by the way you have thought through what you want to do. I know there's a lot of people a lot older than you that still don't have their path set in stone, like you do now at the age of 14. I said to you in person, I'll say it again. You amaze me. And with that, Kurt, I don't know who my guest is next week yet. I have to make some phone calls on that, but I will keep you posted. That's basically all I have to say. Thank you for coming, Grace. It's been a pleasure.
Of course. It was amazing.
There you go, folks. We'll see you next time.